Food, Wine, and Travel writer Susan Montgomery is back here on Big Blend Radio today to tell us about her recent visit to Palm Springs in Southern California. And she's going to share how it offers a unique, fascinating culture that includes Hollywood celebrities, mid-century modernism, Native American heritage, design excellence, elegant shopping, art galleries, and more. Well, who doesn't want to go once you hear that? Like, hey, she's got an awesome article about her experience that's going to be published in the summer-fall issue of Parks and Travel magazine that comes out mid-July, but you can read it right now. Just go to nationalparktraveling.com. Sue is also the publisher of Life-Uncorked.com. Awesome website if you're into food, wine, and travel. And she's also a board member of the International Food, Wine, and Travel Writers Association, and we do our Second Friday show with them every second Friday, and we get this awesome opportunity to chat with travel writers about their experiences around the world. So if you're a travel writer, I encourage you to go to their website, ifwtwa.org, and we say IFTWA. That's, and it's especially good if you have a sip of wine when you say that. So Sue, welcome back. How are you?
I'm great, and it's so great to be back talking with you two again. You're always so much fun, and we had such a fabulous trip to Palm Springs. I'm glad to share it with you.
Very excited about this. So this was an IFTWA trip that you put together. There's a lot of work that goes into that. I was just talking about the restaurant world, how busy that is. But planning a trip and putting these media trips together, they're always like so, high. They're fast-paced once you get there. But that's a lot of work to put together.
Well, I was very fortunate to be working with some great people in Palm Springs who helped put together our itinerary and helped set this all up for us. But it was a challenge. For one thing, this was a larger group than usual. Normally on our press trips, we have maybe 6 or 8 people. This one, we had 23.
Wow.
And that's a lot of people to accommodate and keep track of and make sure that they have a good experience. These were all people from Southern California because at that point, Palm Springs was most interested in looking at it as a getaway, so that if you live in LA or San Diego, or I live in Temecula, in an hour or two, you can be there and spend a nice long weekend or several days and still get back to work on Monday morning. Of course, it's also a wonderful destination for people all over the country. So there are a lot of reasons to go to Palm Springs, and we were sponsored by the Palm Springs Preferred Small Hotels Association. And this is a group of, I think it's about 70 hotels, believe it or not, that all have 49 rooms or less. They're small boutique hotels, and many of them are historical. They date way back to the 30s, some of them, the 40s. They were retreats for the Hollywood crowd, and they offer a lot of intimacy and ambience that you might not find in a large hotel. There are many nice large hotels and resorts, of course, in Palm Springs also. But I think for a unique experience, people might want to try one of these really charming small hotels.
I think
so our group stayed at 13 different hotels, I think.
Yeah, travelers are, when there's times when you need to go to the chain hotel, especially if it's like, your business travel or something like that. But I don't know. We stay in all kinds of places as, we travel across the country. But I think as travelers now, your lodging is part of your experience. It's not just, hey, where you place your head at night. That is part of the experience. So I think it's really neat that they even have an association that does this.
Right. They have a very active association, and the association helped put together the entire experience for us. And everyone had a different experience, which is also unique. I think we stayed among the 23 people. We were maybe 12 or 13 different hotels.
Wow.
And everyone had a different experience. Could focus on a different kind of vibe. Some of the hotels are clothing optional, and we had a member stay at one of those, and that worked out well for him.
I bet he went on the naked bridge.
Actually, I visited some of those hotels too, and they were just beautifully landscaped and almost all the hotels in this group have pools in the center, and then the hotels are usually sort of a courtyard around the pools. And one of the nice things about this particular trip, normally, as you said, these press trips are really intensely scheduled, one stop after another. This one was a little more leisurely. So we had the opportunities to spend time at our hotels and to sit around the pool and have a cocktail and talk to other people and enjoy the landscaping and the lush atmosphere. So that was sort of nice, too. We had some free time on this trip. There was lots to do, but we also had time to relax,
Cool. There's a Hollywood side of things which I want to get into, especially because our Hollywood historian, Steve Schneikert, is listening in. He's like, I heard Hollywood. So he wants to hear all about that. But one thing is interesting, too, Palm Springs, we used to go through that area when we lived up by 29 Palms near Joshua Tree. So that's, I just want to give a shout out. There's so many parks out there. There's Joshua Tree, there's Big Morongo Canyon Preserve as well. And they've got, beautiful gardens out there. But one of the things that you did get out to connect with was the Native American history of Palm Springs. Nancy, now you were digging into that today, and you're making me think that we need to add this to the Juan Bautista de Anza National Historic Trail features we're doing.
Absolutely, because apparently he was the first non-Native American that the Kahia tribe, which is part of Palm Springs, there's two major tribes, the Kumeyaw and the Kahia, that he was the first non-Native American that the Kahia tribe ever met on their way. He was on his way to what is now Palm Springs. How about that?
Right on. I didn't know that
either.
Yeah.
Hey,
so
we met a representative. I'm sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say,
we met a representative from the Agua Caliente tribe.
Go ahead, Sue.
Yeah, go ahead.
I said we met a representative from the Agua Caliente tribe.
Oh, cool.
And that evidently is the founding Native American tribe in Palm Springs.
Mm-hmm. That's the interesting thing when you wrote about that in your article, that the reservation, and I didn't know this, we went, years ago we went and did a press trip. I mean, like way back when, I think it was before radio time for us. And we went on some trip out in the desert, and there was like these mud caves and everything. And then they took us to where they showed how Native American life was there, and how they had the water, how they filtered their water in the desert, and how they farmed. And it was really fascinating. But I didn't realize what you were talking about in your article, that you learned that the reservation is kind of like spread throughout the town.
It's very interesting. I guess this hasn't happened anywhere else in the country. But when the Agua Caliente tribe applied to get federal approval to establish their reservation, they created a checkerboard kind of pattern. We saw a map when we heard a lecture on this topic. And this was mainly because the federal government had already approved railroads going through various parts of this area. And so they didn't want the railroad tracks going through the reservation. So there are just all kinds of squares all over. So you can be on one block, and the next block is the reservation. It turns out that the airport there is on the reservation. A lot of these little hotels are on the reservation. Some of them aren't. Fortunately, they've worked out a really nice relationship with the city and the reservation, so that services such as fire service, police service are seamless between these different areas. But it is an interesting structure that they have for this reservation.
Wow, that's neat.
But I'd say 50%, maybe 50% of the city of Palm Springs. That's just my estimate. But would be the reservation.
Wow. I had no idea about that, and how unique is that? So everyone's working together, and then you also talk about the LGBTQ community. That their entire city council is LGBTQ. I always get it wrong. I want to make sure I get it
Well,
right.
yes. I mean, I believe that much of the success and beauty of this area is due to the LGBTQ community. They this all started many years ago, and I think a number of the celebrities that used to visit were in that group, and they encouraged it, and it became a retreat, a place for people to get away. And now many of these hotels, not all of them, but many of them are managed or owned by people in the LGBTQ community. And as I said, their entire city council is LGBTQ. So it's a very friendly, wonderful group of people who have a real artistic aesthetic and have contributed so much to the shopping and the art museums and the beauty of the area.
That's neat. That's neat. And, you know, Palm
is.
Springs is really diverse, you know. So the World War II history, that was another part I didn't know was the largest collection of World War II flying aircraft is there?
Evidently, yes. We went to that museum, and it was fascinating. And they have a huge number of these old airplanes. We saw one of them take off. I think it was B-24. My husband was thrilled to see that, and it was fun. So there's quite a bit of World War II history there, and we actually had one member, Joe Hilbers, on our trip who was a POW during World War II, and he is over 90 years old now, and he had on his hat that said, you know, World War II veteran, and everyone there stood up and applauded him. They were so glad to see him there, and he had a wonderful time and really deserved the recognition, and has written an article about that museum. But that's something you might not think of when you go to Palm Springs, that you want to go to this air museum, but it's certainly worth making a stop there, and it's very well put together and interesting.
Very nice, very nice.
I mean, what do you think of when you think of Palm Springs? I think a lot of people around the country think of, you know, lots of sun, which is definitely the case, and golf. But there's just so much more to do there. I mean, I'm not a golfer. I think it's wonderful to be one, but I'm not one. And I can do so much there if I'm not laying around the pool. There's so much to see, so many wonderful restaurants, and as you said, the botanical gardens and the art museum, and we can talk about the aerial tramway, which is fascinating.
That is something that we never did, and I mean it's so interesting. Even in winter, you can go up there and get that beautiful snowy view. So it's you know, but that's like a year-round cool thing to do, to go up, and so you go up into the mountains and look down over the valley.
Oh, totally! It goes up almost 9,000 feet.
Whoa.
It goes up from the desert floor to an alpine forest that's 9,000 feet up. And you ride in these, they're very unusual, state-of-the-art tram cars that have rotating floors. So they give you spectacular mountain views on your way up. And then once you get up there, there's a lodge, there's a place for drinks and food, there are little shops. But then there are all kinds of hiking trails, so that the hikers, you know, they could spend a whole day up there with the beautiful views and the picnic lunch. And if it's hot in Palm Springs, which of course it usually is, it's usually about 20 degrees cooler up there.
So what are the rotating
I know a lot
floors?
of the locals. Pardon?
So I want to go back to the rotating floors. What exactly do you mean by rotating floors? I mean, if you're in a little thing, a cable car thing, and are you telling me you can see through the floor? What?
No. Oh,
no. Okay, good.
They're sort of round tram cars.
Yeah.
And you stand up all the way up. There are little seats on the side. I'm not sure, but basically you'd stand up, and the floor of the little tram car rotates around so you can see the mountains, all different views of them.
Oh, okay, I see. I thought maybe they were switching floors out. I'm like, everybody feet up, they're switching the floor.
No, you can see all the way around. It's worth it to ride up these unique tram cars. I've never seen anything like it. I did not go on that trip this time, but a lot of members in our group did, and I've done it before, and I would do it again. I thought it was fascinating.
Oh, cool. Cool. I want to do it. Now the shopping part is it all boutiques? I mean, this seems like everything is boutique, that it's, again, like that authentic experience, like we were talking about in the beginning of the show today about where we are here in Florence, Colorado, that it's really unique. It's one of a kind.
Well, that's the most fascinating part of the shopping, are the art galleries that are also little shops, and the beautiful boutique stores with interesting, unusual clothing and jewelry and handicrafts and pottery, and art decor stores, interior design stores. And you can just walk around several blocks in downtown Palm Springs and be fascinated, and also spend a few dollars if you wanted to do that. And of course, they're all interspersed with little bars and restaurants, and so you could spend easily a day or two just walking in and out of shops and having a glass of wine here and there. It's just a very delightful kind of experience.
That sounds good. Wine, shopping, and then like the art museum. I want to go to the art museum. And the thing is, when you get that mid-modernism of buildings, I wasn't always into like architecture or really understood it until we really started seeing all these different styles when we travel to different towns. And sometimes like you'll have, like in Tucson, you have an adobe building next to mid-modernism, and then, turn around and here's a Victorian. It's like, it's interesting when towns do that. Is Palm Springs pretty much mostly mid-modernism?
Oh, it's more than that. It definitely has mid-modernism there, but they have Western American art, Native American art, and artifacts, a lot of Native American focus. They have a contemporary glass studio, which is my favorite part of it. It's just beautiful. They have a lot of photography. It's really fascinating, and they have some traveling exhibits that come in and out. And the building itself is just interesting to be in and to sit and sort of contemplate life. I always like to do that at an art museum, sit in front of a beautiful painting or stand there and look at it for a while and think about life. And it's beautiful. It's beautifully presented. So it's definitely a place to stop. And there's an architectural museum, too, that's connected to the Palm Spring Art Museum. I mean, it's not on the same property. It's down a few blocks, but they're part of the same organization. When you pay to get into one, you can get into the other. And that's definitely a stop. Every time I've gone to Palm Springs, I always make sure I go to the art museum. And it's always changing a little. And it has a great gift shop, which I always love in art museums.
And you went on that celebrity bus tour, and that's got to be fun. Going around and seeing all these legendary homes. So were most of them the old Las Palmas neighborhood? That was where all the movie stars and Frank Sinatra and all of that, the Rat Pack dudes. That's where they stayed?
Yeah, that neighborhood is one of the primary ones where you find a lot of the homes that the movie stars built years ago. But there are some other neighborhoods too. And I sometimes when I go on a trip, it's fun to just have a theme. What am I going to focus on this trip? And my friends and I on previous trips have just focused on the Rat Pack experience, because that's actually what I find the most interesting and fun about Palm Springs, is the fact that all these Hollywood celebrities, I mean, you just can't even begin to name them all. Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, Marilyn Monroe, Liberace, Bob Hope, Elizabeth Taylor, Gene Autry, Joan Crawford, Ava Gabor. I mean, the list goes on and on.
Well, I'm getting off at Dean Martin's house.
Oh, yeah, Nancy's
and
Dean Martin.
Oh, yes. I love Dean Martin.
Yeah, Nancy's got a crush on him, lifelong crush.
The interesting thing about Frank Sinatra's house is they do rent it out. And I think I sent you a photo of Frank Sinatra's house. And
yes.
I think for, I don't know, $2,000 a night, you can rent it out for several people. Well, think about it, though. Let's say you have 14 people or 20 people, split it up.
Wow, that's
it's
a
not
big
that
house.
bad.
That's a
and
big
you can have a
house.
nice party there.
I guess.
And I'm not sure how many people it can hold, but I think it can hold quite a few.
Wow.
And that's a lot of fun. I think many of these stars stayed at these small hotels that I've mentioned. And they stayed at different little hotels. I know one of our members stayed in a room titled Pretty in Pink, where Marilyn Monroe stayed when she went to a hotel called Rendezvous. And there are other hotels that hosted Clark Gable and Carol Lombard and Joseph Kennedy, Albert Einstein even. And so they went to these little hotels to get away from Hollywood. They didn't, even in those days, in the 40s and 50s, they had paparazzi in Hollywood, and they got away from all of that, and they had a peaceful retreat. And then they all learned to love the area so much that many of them built their own homes there. And those homes are part of the historic area where the celebrity bus tour took us. So we could stop in front of these homes and really get a good look at them. And our tour guide was great. He had lots of anecdotes and stories about the different stars and where they stayed and where they had their trysts and so forth. So it was fun. But there are other ways.
I was going to say, because you've got the hotels too, or the small hotels you stayed in, like Marilyn Monroe. So she was at the Rendezvous boutique hotel, so that's a good name right there. But so she has her own room, but you think that she wasn't there alone. She wasn't like I want to be alone.
So. No, I think Marilyn probably had a lot of visitors.
So she had a little nest going on at the Rendezvous. So you can basically stay at these different boutique hotels and stay where the movie stars where they were in the actual rooms. I mean, the beds are different now, but
the only actual room I know about is that Pretty in Pink one. I think you can stay at a hotel. For instance, there's another one called Aman Casa, which is where Gloria Swanson used to be her home, and now it's been turned into private bungalows for guests. So you knew Gloria Swanson was there. There's this other one called the Willows that, as I mentioned, hosted Clark Gable and Carol Lombard, Joseph Kennedy. The Ingleside Inn is one of my favorite places. Clark Gable, Elizabeth Taylor, even Salvador Dali used to go there. And now they have a beautiful restaurant there as part of the hotel called Melvin's that has a lounge called the Casablanca Lounge, where if you go in there in the evening and sit in their lounge around their piano bar where they're playing, of course, old Rat Pack tunes, you feel like any second one of those movie stars could walk in. I mean, it's definitely a place they hung out, and if they were still around, they'd probably still be there today. And then there was another wonderful place that I would highly recommend called the Purple Room, and it's in the Trinidad Hotel, which is a small hotel, and it's like a supper club where they have entertainment. They have entertainment almost every night of the week, I think Tuesday through Sunday. The night we were there, we were very fortunate that the owner of the Purple Room, his name is Michael Holmes, was the entertainment for the evening, and he just sang everything Dean Martin and Frank Sinatra used to sing right there on that same stage. Wow. And he was a wonderful entertainer. And while you're watching him, you can eat your dinner, and they have a very nice menu and cocktails, vintage cocktails from the old era, like Old Blue Eyes. And I can't quite remember what's in that, but I think it had bourbon in it. So you guys would like that.
Yeah. We like all. You like martinis a lot. I always see. I know you love your wine, but I always see photos of you with martinis. If you were to, say, okay, this is your last drink on the planet, which one would it be?
Oh, Lisa, that's awful.
Well, I didn't know we were going to get into that. I actually probably would have a nice vodka martini little
Yeah.
dirty.
Mm.
But I like trying. We like experimenting with different cocktails and different mixtures. I think
Yeah.
you know another one of our IFTWA members,
Linda.
Stewart.
Yeah.
She writes the cocktail column for our website, Life-Uncorked, and she's always creating interesting cocktails with things like lavender
she made a good
syrup
cocktail
and,
for our Craven Raven cocktail contest, and she
I
was one of the
know.
winners, one of the runner-ups, and it was good.
I'm
know.
like,
go girl. Yeah, I mean that was so much fun that night. That was, and I was like, I read hers. I'm like, she really puts thought into it and how everything balances, which is really good. But yeah, I brought up the martini because you were saying, what do you think? When you think about Palm Springs, what do you think of? For some reason, I think of having a martini and music, and it is the music. It is the old Rat Pack sound.
It's classy.
But I want a martini, and I don't really wear dresses because I'm always in jeans, running around doing something,
No, you can't
falling
do
down
that.
somewhere in a vineyard or wherever. But I would like to. Palm Springs to me means okay. You're going to be a girl or a lady. You're going to try to be a lady for a night. Put a dress on. Go drink martinis. I don't know. I might even have a cigarette, but I haven't done that for years. I probably won't. I know it's terrible, but for some reason, I just want to kind of go back in that time frame and do that. It just sounds like
high
fun.
heels. You're gonna wear
I
high
don't know
heels.
about the high heels.
Let us know when you're there, and we'll meet you there.
Cool.
It's just my favorite getaway from where I live right now, and I was just so happy to introduce the area to a lot of people who either had never been there or hadn't been there in many years. And I just think there's so much fun going on there, and you do sort of lose yourself in the history of the place. I mean, that's what I think. The culture there to me, it's not playing golf, so that's fine too.
Yeah.
But it's just soaking up this historical vibe from the old Hollywood days, and it's sort of nostalgic. And I would say,
it would be really, really cool if they did those like holograms. They did that with Whitney Houston, and people go to the concert. And
Elvis?
Obviously, she's not. Yeah, they did with Elvis. Now, just think if they brought Dean Martin back. Come on,
Nancy,
people,
she
get
can't
on there.
stop on the Dean Martin. You
Nancy,
mentioned
you
Dean
might
Martin.
have an idea.
I mean,
my
wouldn't
gosh.
it be cool if they were like you went into those old theaters and there they are singing? Wouldn't that be awesome?
But I actually, in the Purple Room, I expected that to happen. I expected any moment for Dean Martin to suddenly show up on the stage.
Yeah.
And if he really did it through a hologram, I think we'd all be totally blown away.
Yeah.
That would be fantastic. I think you have an idea.
Yeah. Who do we call?
Well, Steve Schneikert, again, our Hollywood historian, he keeps up with Dean Martin's daughter on Twitter. So, and he's always sharing.
Wow.
Yeah, he's always sharing posts to me to give to Nancy because of her high school crush on Dean Martin that hasn't ever ended. It's like every time we have music nights. Oh, Dean Martin.
That's right.
Oh, Dean Martin. But she wants to look at him as much as hear him. She wants to watch him.
Right.
She likes to watch him on Johnny Carson. And I think
I want
that's
the full
Palm Springs.
Monty.
You think about all those guys like, Johnny Carson, and there was an era where it was a naughty era, but it was like this naughty, fun kind of.
But it wasn't crude.
It wasn't over the top, and I think that's really neat that they're keeping that history there, Sue. But there's that balance of okay, we've still got boutique hotels, we've got the shops. It seems like there's this really cool balance in Palm Springs, and like you're saying, it's not so far from Temecula. You're just around the corner, so that's really nice for Southern California. It's not far at all. Sue, I do want to touch base with you on IFTWA since you're a board member. Are you going to go to Santa Fe for their conference? We just did a radio show on it.
Yes.
Featured our newsletter today.
Yes.
You're going. Cool.
I am very excited about it. I think it's going to be one of the best conferences we've had. And one of our members, Linda Milks, is a good friend of mine, and she's in charge of it right now, and she's pulling together all kinds of fabulous experiences for people. I think the area is very appealing to our members. And I think the time of year we'll be there. The conference is November 11th through 13th. That's a good time of year. It's going to start getting a little chilly. It's not going to be too warm, but it'll be comfortable. And we're going to be visiting lots of interesting, again, very artistically oriented places. And they have a wonderful cuisine there in Santa Fe that we're going to have at the conference a chef's panel where various chefs from some of the outstanding restaurants will talk about their cuisine and their experience, and that'll be interesting. And I know Linda has a number of great workshops planned. Of course, we're having one on social media, one on photography, one on pitching articles. But the centerpiece of all this is we're staying at the old La Fonda Hotel, which is one of the oldest, most historic hotels in America. I think it's on grounds that where there was a building there in the 1600s. And I have walked through La Fonda before. I haven't stayed there, so I'm looking forward to staying there. And another asset of this conference is that guests can come. You don't have to be a member. It just would be great if you're interested in travel, food, wine, any of that. You can sign up for this conference, and I think you will get a lot out of it and learn a lot about the area and the travel industry and network with some great people. So we're very excited about this conference.
Well, I'm going to send you pictures because Nancy and I will be there next week. We're staying at La Fonda and the Inn of the Governors.
Good.
Yeah, so we'll send you photos. And apparently we're going to have a tour of their art. They have an art museum on the property. And
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. So there's so much that goes on there. And I'm like, okay, this sounds totally exciting. There's cocktails overlooking the plaza. I mean, because you're staying in the original plaza of Santa Fe. And the history of Santa Fe, I mean, when they came up, Spaniards coming up looking for the city of gold, and, the art and the history. I've been doing a lot of research on Santa Fe. And I'm like, everybody in November, watch the hashtag IFWTWA on Twitter and Facebook, because you're going to see like all kinds of food and photos, history photos. You're going to see the travel writers. Twitter's going to blow up with you guys. And I always talk about this on shows with IFTWA writers because I follow that hashtag. I mean, it's on my tweet deck, and every morning I look at who's been where. And I mean, literally, IFTWA writers have been everywhere around the world. It's like we should do like a poll with every writer as they, join. Like, okay, list all the countries so we can see if like the entire planet has been covered. I think you have done that on IFTWA with IFTWA members.
I think so too.
Yeah. Cool.
Well, we are an international organization, and we do have a lot of international members, which is great. And then we have trips overseas too.
See, that's cool. And then that's what I like about what you're doing with the conference is that people actually get to meet. And I know that IFTWA writers help each other out with contacts. And also the tourism professionals come out. Don't the destinations themselves come to conferences like this so people can learn and meet and greet?
Yes, we will have a variety of exhibitors who will talk to our members. We'll have a time period set up where they have their tables out and all their information and brochures, and they'll get to meet our members, talk about possible trips to their areas, talk about why their areas should be promoted. I think we're having a tourism panel to talk about what's happening around the country. So even though this is in Santa Fe, all kinds of cities and regions all over the country will be represented there for sure, which makes it fun.
Nice. That's really nice. So I wanted to ask you one more thing on Palm Springs. You're going to go back. What is something you have not done in Palm Springs that you want to do the next time you go back? Because I'm already assuming that you're going to go back since you're so close too.
Well, I'd like to stay in a lot of these other boutique hotels. I've stayed in 3 or 4 of them now, but I like the experience of the little hotels, and so I would like to do that. And this time around, most of our members went to a market every single Thursday night, I think all through the year, They have a market that's like produce and crafts and artwork. And this time I went to a restaurant that I wanted to try out instead of doing that. And I'm glad I went to the restaurant. It's called Tropical, and it was fabulous. And we met the chefs and had a great dinner, but I missed that market. So next time, I know a lot of our members went to the market and enjoyed that. That's always fun, just to walk around and see what's being produced in the area and meet the people. I have to say, the people in Palm Springs are so welcoming. Such a warm, friendly group of people. I think maybe it doesn't have quite the reputation across the country that it deserves. I think people might think of it as more of an elite kind of stuck-up area, and it's not. It is not. Now, yes, people are stylish, and it's a classy area, but there is a lot you can do there that's reasonably priced, and the people there are very welcoming and friendly, and you would have a very good experience as a traveler and a visitor there.
Awesome.
Good to know.
Everyone. Again, Sue's article is up on nationalparktraveling.com. Just type in Palm Springs in the search box and you'll see it. And awesome photos by her husband, Todd Montgomery, are featured in there too. And it'll also be in the summer-fall issue of Parks and Travel magazine, also on the same site, nationalparktraveling.com. That will be out mid-July. And I want to give everyone Sue's website. Is it life-uncorked.com or lifeuncorked.com? I'm looking at my notes here, and I think
it's Life-Uncorked.
She's uncorked.
Go there. It's cool. It's a cool website.
And we have articles about travel, food, wine, that kind of thing. As a matter of fact, right now I'm off to a wine tasting, so new info today.
Where are you going? Where are you going on your wine tasting?
We're going to a winery in Escondido.
Cool.
That it was all arranged by a IFTWA member who has some connections there, and she wants to introduce us to it. And I'll be posting on Facebook about this experience this afternoon, I'm sure.
Right on. We'll be waiting. We need some wine. It's almost that time. Again, everyone, for the International Food, Wine, Travel Writers Association, you can go to ifwtwa.org. The information about joining, if you're a photographer, travel writer, blogger, or a destination, or anybody in the tourism industry, you should check it out. Go check out the memberships there. It's very, very good for everyone to connect there. And also the conference information is there. And we're going to play a song for you, Sue. This is called, the song, I've Got You Under My Skin. I think that's Nancy's.
That's great.
We're going to play that. This is a new recording. It's a different version, and it's by Noah Levy. She is based out of San Francisco. Awesome singer-songwriter, jazz musician, and everyone, you can keep up with Noah. It's NOALEVY live.com. It's off of her latest album called Take Two. But I thought this was an appropriate song for you.
Yeah.
And I think Nancy would like to sing that to Dean Martin. But here it is. I've Got You Under My Skin. Thanks so much for joining us. Yeah. Thanks, Sue.
Sounds
Happy
great.
wine tasting.
Thank you very much.
You take care.
Thank you. So great to talk to you too.
Bye-bye. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I've got you under my skin. I've got you deep in the heart of me, so deep in my heart, you're nearly a part of me, and I've got you under my skin. I tried so not to give in. I said to myself, this affair never will go nowhere. But why should I try to resist when, darling, I know so well that I've got you under my skin. I'd sacrifice anything, come what might, for the sake of having you near, in spite of a warning voice that comes in the night and repeats in my ear. Don't you know, you fool, you never can win. Use your mentality, wake up to reality. But each time that I do, just the thought of you makes me stop before I begin. 'Cause I've got you under my skin. I'd sacrifice anything, come what might, for the sake of having you near, in spite of a warning voice. It comes in the night and repeats in my ear. Don't you know, you fool, you never could win. Use your mentality, wake up to reality. But each time that I do, it's the thought of you makes me stop right before I begin. 'Cause I've got you. 'Cause I've got you under my skin. I've got you under my skin. I've got you under my skin. I've got you under